Yep, we're live.
Oh, yeah.
I just got the
All right.
I got a tweet about it. So,
Good. Okay.
oh, that's the wrong thing. Not that. No, I need to go here. I got to manage that. That's the one. Business Brain. That's the show we're doing. Hey everybody, we're about to do Business Brain.
We are SWOT framework and impactful
Not that.
email.
YouTube makes anybody who's done this more than once with us knows that YouTube makes my life insanely difficult.
It does. What's it going crazy?
It like there should be a path to get where I want to get.
Yeah, I would agree. Instead of having to click like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the worst is I click where I think I can go, and then it shows me the window I want to see with this overlay where I have to make a choice, and neither one of the thing. I just want to go to the thing that already exists. I don't want to create a new one.
Yes.
So it drives me crazy.
That sounds like it's
just how it is. Yeah, it's perfect.
Cool. I'm ready whenever you are.
Why is our broadcast not available? This is weird. Are you seeing it on Twitter?
All of a sudden. No, I see it. Yeah.
It's there. Okay.
Yep.
So my Twitter client's just being weird. That's not surprising.
Yeah.
Let me put this up on my screen so I have it where I need it. And
cool.
I'm ready to rock if you're ready to rock.
I am ready to rock, man. Let's do it.
Okay, then. Put that there. Okay, here we go. Business Brain, episode 518 for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. Folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where you sometimes send in stuff, sometimes we come up with stuff. We take the stuff, concepts, ideas, actions that other people have taken, actions that we have taken. We dissect them, we analyze them, we go through them together, me, him, you, so that each of us can tune our business brains every single episode. Sponsors for this episode include GoSquaredAway.com, highly educated military spouses to be your remote executive assistants, and Gusto.com/businessbrain, where you get 3 months of payroll, benefits, admin, and more totally free. We'll talk more in depth about each of those in a little bit. For now, here in slightly warmer Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in wet California, I'm Shannon Jean.
That's atypical for you to be.
It is. It's been great.
That's good.
We've getting pounded. Yeah. We've had a lot of rain out here, which is fantastic, which means
a lot
of snow, which California relies on the snowpack to get through because a big part of the state is desert.
Right. Snowpack keeps your water, keeps you hydrated. I got it.
As it melts. Yeah. So it's good. It's good. Hey, before we get into our main topic today, which is we're going to talk about SWOT, SWOT. I did this exercise that I wanted to talk about and just throw it out there. And it is, we did a show about, what do we call it? Your cause, your grand cause, something like that.
Yep.
A while back from a post from a guy on X named Girdley.
Yep.
And we talked about how that added to your business and got everybody on board. And I started thinking about it. And then I listened to
your noble cause.
Your noble cause.
Business Brain 508.
Yeah. That's great. Yep. And I listened to a great podcast called How to Take Over the World, which is just tremendous. I can't recommend it enough.
Okay.
Talks about leaders, historical leaders, and then it kind of brings in a business aspect. And they did a couple episodes on the Rothschilds, which I thought was fascinating.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, for sure.
It was really good, and I learned a lot. And one of the things that they had was a very strong family motto. And I thought, hey, there you go. Yeah. And I said, you know what? We should have a family motto. Our family's growing. My daughter's getting married this year. My son is graduating from college. I don't know where he's going to wind up.
Sure.
But the things that are really important to this small core group, we want to keep together and educate this next group of people that eventually come along. And plus, you're bringing in outsiders, right, that are going to marry into your awesome family.
Yes.
And so over the holidays, we did an exercise. I got the whiteboard out. I actually got the quartet big giant whiteboard that they sent me, which is terrific. And I posted a picture of it up on Twitter. But anyway, we picked out like the top 20 words that represented our family, and I thought it was pretty cool. And you could do it with your business, and we got a great response out of it. And I thought it was great. So I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I like that idea. Have you solidified your family motto? And do you mind sharing it?
No, I don't mind at all. Let me go. I have to go into my Google Drive, which I'm going to do right now.
Okay.
And right here. So I shared it with everybody. We had 20 words, and then everybody got to vote.
Okay.
And I was kind of looking for 3 or 4 words that were really nailed it.
That resonated with everybody.
And,
sure.
And I also learned during this exercise is that with Google Sheets, it has a calculation that converts to whatever language you want. And in this case, I wanted it to convert to Latin because I want to put this on a family crest and have it Latin.
Like
it's kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah.
So the winners the top 4 were ambition, which is ambitio.
Okay.
Courage,
which
is animus. Authenticity, which is veritas.
Yeah.
And creativity, which is great. I love, which I don't think I have it, whatever reason I don't have Latin on here. But I thought those 4 words because and those were those got the most votes. And some of us didn't vote at all for certain ones, but
of course
other ones, and there were 5 of us voting. So now I'm going to put those together. We're going to build a crest, and every new child born into the family gets that tattoo. But we're going to do some merch.
You can't tattoo a child, but you can brand a child.
Yeah, we'll take that route.
Just
That'll
brand
be awesome.
them.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We'll just brand them. But
it's fine.
It's cool because now I feel it's quick. They won't remember.
No.
It's something that we can discuss and keep discussing as the family grows out, grandkids and all this kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of cool, and I just wanted to share it with our audience.
I think it's great. I love it. There is power in this. Yes. My great grandfather did really well for himself. He actually helped kind of build the railroads throughout New England. He's helped save a bunch of companies and stuff. I met him a few times, but I was very, very young.
Sure.
Never really got to know him. But he actually, he and his wife wrote a book about their lives. We call it the Red Book in our family, and cool. It has persisted. And every grandkid up through my generation, everyone was given a copy of the Red Book, and there are still some extra copies around.
Yeah,
but he did, he prioritized family over all else. And the book was a part of that. I mean, it was his story, but it was for his family and really told the story of how he built his family. And his legacy is that the family remains connected, decades after his passing. And it's amazing. He had bought a bunch of land in Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. And his idea was that this would become like family compound-ish.
Kind of,
yeah. And it would be a place that the family could always go. And some of the land had to be sold off because the house he lived in wound up being sold off because at the time it needed to be liquidated. Nobody could pick it up, right? It was worth millions. And so it was, But so that unfortunately remains outside of the family, at least at the moment. But there's always talk of bringing it back in.
But I think it's a good exercise.
But definitely. he succeeded in that. Like most of the family has retired and lives up there, which is amazing to me. That is
amazing.
Most of the time, it's the siblings fight about the land, and it gets they sell it for the cash, and that's the end of it. But
that's right.
But you start doing things like this, and it helps cement that family first kind of, remember that there's value here. I think it's great, man.
I love it. It's a great exercise, and I was happy that everybody was excited about doing it.
All right, folks. You know what's less fun than a surprise tax audit? Well, probably nothing. But close second, managing payroll and HR. Cue the groans, right? But wait, what if I told you that there's a superhero in the world of payroll and HR? Enter our sponsor, Gusto. Picture this, payroll that's actually painless, benefits that don't break the bank, and HR that doesn't make you hit the snooze button. Imagine, my fellow business brains, a world where payroll runs smoother than your morning coffee, where W-2s and 1099s are less intimidating than your morning crossword, and health benefits don't sound like rocket science. That's right, Gusto is like that friend who knows all about taxes and doesn't make you feel bad about not knowing what a W-4 form is. It's an all-in-one, remote-friendly platform where you can hire, onboard, pay, and support your team across the globe. And guess what? It's easy peasy to use, even from your beach hammock or your mountain cabin. 3 out of 4 customers say they run payroll in 10 minutes or less with Gusto. The 4th customer, well, they were probably just too busy enjoying how much time they saved to respond. And here's the kicker. For listeners of Business Brain, Gusto is offering 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's more savings than finding a forgotten 20 in your winter coat. And I'm wearing my winter coat a lot, so I think there's going to be a lot of 20s in there. So wave goodbye to payroll and HR headaches and say hello to Gusto. Visit gusto.com/businessbrain and give your business the gift of time, savings, and peace of mind. That's gusto.com/businessbrain. Now, let's get back to tuning those business brains of ours, and our thanks to Gusto for sponsoring this episode. All right, now, though, let's talk about the entrepreneur's universal challenge, time management. You know, like when managing your inbox feels like playing whack-a-mole with a rubber hammer, or when balancing your professional and personal life feels like juggling flaming torches underwater. Anyway, here's the good news. I've found our time-traveling superhero, minus the cape, squared away. Picture this, highly educated, driven, and dedicated military spouses turning into your remote executive assistants. It's like finding a unicorn that can do your taxes. I absolutely adore this concept, folks. Military spouses are like Swiss Army knives, versatile, resilient, and always handy in a pinch. Squared away assistants are the ninjas you need. They sneak in, tackle your admin work, manage projects, and handle those pesky little tasks that nibble away at your time. They're like professional plate spinners, keeping everything aloft while you focus on, well, being the business wizard that you need to be. And the best part, they're in every U.S. time zone and work as W-2 employees, not contractors. It's like having a personal productivity army, but without the need to feed and house them. So if you're ready to stop feeling like a circus ringmaster and more like a CEO, you've got to check out Squared Away. See how they can help you. Just go to GoSquaredAway.com. Again, that's GoSquaredAway.com. Say goodbye to task terrors and hello to your new secret weapon, and our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right, Shannon, you said you wanted to SWOT things, and
Yes.
I've SWOT, and I've heard of SWOT before. I've seen it used in programming, specific to projects, I should say.
Okay, sure.
Where you're looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right?
You got it. Strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And it's also, it's used in the corporate world a lot. And matter of fact, this idea came from a great follow on Twitter called The Management Consultant, and we'll put a link in the show notes. You can find him up. I'll repost it as well.
Yep.
And he talked about how it's a great time of the year to be sitting down and considering these things, your strengths, your weaknesses, what opportunities that you've got, and what the threats are to your business. And
so looking at, like, it's not just swatting a given project or thing. This is zooming out and doing it for your entire business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and so
it makes sense. Yeah,
I thought it was great, and I'd love to. I wanted to talk about it from a small business perspective, because I think it's. I know what it is as well, and we've done it in planning, but I love this. There's some great, he's got a great chart up here to help you break down, what these strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats may be. And I think it'd be great to share with your team, to sit and discuss it so you can focus on, okay, here's our strength. What's working great that maybe we want to lean into? What are we the best at what is it? And if you can't identify something, that's a problem altogether.
No, this is why these are good things to do. I never thought about doing it for just the entire business, but yeah, I mean, like you said, what are we great at?
Yeah, what are we good at?
The second question he puts up there is, what unique resources do we possess? Which I call, what are our unfair competitive advantages?
Exactly.
Like, what do we have that someone else can't have? And it's good to know if you don't have an answer to that question too, like you said.
Yeah, you want to, all businesses want to rise above mediocrity, right?
Right.
And even if you didn't invent a new widget or come up with some fantastic new thing, if you're a contractor, HVAC person, I mean, I was in the, tech repair business. It wasn't, rocket science, but the way we did it was our strength, and the way we learned how to manage our customers and to deliver a level of service that they weren't used to, and to thrill our customers, that was our strength. And we leaned into that as much as we possibly could, because that was our unfair advantage.
That's it, right?
That we could do it so quickly, and we knew, how to handle people, and the sense of urgency, all things that I've talked about on the show over the years. But we also had a lot of weaknesses, right? And
of course, every business does, folks.
And I'm happy to be out of that tech space now, because one of the biggest weaknesses is the commoditization of not even just the products, but the services that
the business of it in and of itself.
In and of itself, over time, just got driven, and there's so many competitors came into the market that were solely focused on price that it just became like, why are we here? And that's the customer. If you're solely focused on price all the time, you're just going to attract the worst type of customer. And we always wanted to be on the high end and offer another level of service, but it became more and more difficult. So that was the weaknesses. That was our tough love. I mean, I wound up eventually selling the business and getting out of that because of that reason. Because I was quite frankly, I didn't know how to innovate past it. And I'm not sure that it does. When you would go to every single store, whether it was when Staples started getting into the repair business, I thought, oh wow, this is bad news.
Yeah, right.
Because these folks want you to come in and buy paper, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
they're going to make crazy margins on paper and do this repair for nothing. So, what things don't work, really, really important. And then what your opportunities are. What is the next thing? When I got into the repair business, it was crazy, big monitors, desktops. I mean, the technology wasn't even good enough to where you could solely run your life or your business on a laptop.
I remember. Right? Yeah, laptops were too slow.
The processors were not as good because of battery life and all this kind of stuff. So the things we could work on were great, but over time, it just got less and less and less. And so you constantly had to innovate. And that's what are the opportunities? How do you take the next step, from working on Apple color laser printers to realizing that laptops are now the most important business tool, and trying to get, working to get a laptop pickup box in every DHL van in the country.
Sure.
Those were our opportunities, and you have to identify them and try it, experiment, and see if it works. And luckily it did work, and we were able to stay in that business for 20 years before it just became ridiculous.
Yeah, right. No, I want to do this for my business. I am not necessarily eager to see all of the results.
No, I hate bad news.
Right, exactly.
It's the optimist dilemma is that I don't want to sit down and talk about this last thing, the threats. I don't want to do it. I don't want to know what my competitors are doing. It's just my human nature. I just want to focus on what we're good at. But you need to know what
you have to know. It is good. Like it is good to carve out moments where you make yourself aware of these things, and you give yourself opportunity to think about these things in time. You don't want to be preoccupied with the threats all of the time, because
that's right.
you have to believe that there is a reason to go and like do the work each day.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're obsessed about the threats all the time, that will paralyze you.
But I do believe, and if you can't do it, somebody in your organization needs to be the designated downer.
Yes.
Because they need to want okay, great. All these optimistic things are great, and we're going to achieve all these great things. But here's the immediate threat that we need to address: competitive issues, which, like I just talked about, price, regulatory issues. Apple hated companies like us because we, quote, didn't follow the rules and we sourced parts in the gray market, and they didn't like it. They just hated it. So it was constant battle that you have to go through. So it's important to sit down. I love this framework because it walks you through it, and you can sit down and just kind of lay things out and develop a roadmap. And maybe it's for 6 months, 3 months, maybe it's for your entire year. And now's a great time to do it. We're still in January. And I'd love to hear how you have used this before. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Share your concept, this SWOT or whatever fancy acronym you may have. Help us learn more and share to the business brain as a whole.
Yeah, SWOT. Also, feedback at businessbrain.show. Just like he said, make sure you check out our sponsors, gusto.com/businessbrain and Go Squared Away. And go to businessbrain.show and sign up for our mailing list so you get all the show notes in your inbox, and keep living that charmed life. We'll see you next time. We're out.
Cool. So if you're watching this live stream, now we're going to prepare for our next episode. So we stream these shows on Tuesdays. We record 2 episodes, one on Wednesdays, 15, 20 minutes, and another one on Friday, which we call Casual Friday. The reason we split those up is because we get way more engagement, and people listen to entire shows that are 20 minutes long versus maybe 45 minutes to an hour. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It's fascinating to me that is true for this show.
Yeah,
because I have other shows that are long, and people don't necessarily listen to the whole thing all at once.
But they come back and listen.
Yeah, they just keep going.
Yeah. Maybe it's the business crowd that's super busy, and we're, I listen to I listen to 2-hour-long shows, and I just piecemeal them when I get in the car or whatever. But
I don't know. Okay. I don't know what it is, but it is definitely true for you folks, for this audience. Which is
takeaway. And the takeaway is
glad we learned it.
The experimenting, and this is our 9th year of recording the show. This is episode. We just recorded 518, and we're going to do 519 in a couple of minutes. Just try and do things and keeping it engaging for ourselves as well, because I don't want to do it if I don't enjoy it, and I enjoy this new format. I think it's terrific.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
It took us
8.5 years to get there. 7.5 years.
And almost like 9 years before we started streaming it. I don't know. I always used to say, why do people want to see me sitting in my camouflage jacket?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
The question is moot.
Exactly. I'm not the important person.
You're not the audience for that. It is, though, like, the question is relevant because when you're creating content, especially a podcast, which is very personal, right? People choose to listen. Oh, I got to pull that out. We're not doing that. And not doing that. There's that. Perfect. I'm just putting some things away so that we have them for later, folks. But when you're creating a podcast, I always say that you attract like-minded listeners, right? Like, we choose these topics, whether they're topics that we find through our travels or topics that you folks send us. We are the curators, right? I mean, for better and for worse. It's the reality is we choose the things that are interesting to us. And for that reason, we find a like-minded audience, right? Because if you don't find the same things interesting that we do, well, then you're not going to listen to this show.
That's right.
I don't think. So the fact that neither one of us would want to watch this is relevant in that regard, right? Where we're not doing this.
Yeah,
but
it's just another venue to push out the content, right?
That's right. Yeah. And everybody has their own different ways of consuming stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
I get it. Yeah,
that's right.
I get it. So
that's very cool.
All right, I think
we're ready.
I am ready to do 519.
All right. Anytime you are, I'm ready to do 519 as well.
All right. Let's do this. Where are we? 2522, 2530. Oh, I got to change this to be 519 for Friday the 26th. And then I got to put that there.
Awesome.
And 2545. Okay, here we go. Business Brain, episode 519 for Friday, Casual Friday, January 26th, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few concepts, a few ideas, a few things we find, we analyze them, we dissect them, we dig into them so that every single one of us here are able to tune our business brains together each and every episode. Sponsors include GoSquaredAway.com, where you're going to go to find out about highly educated military spouses who can become your remote executive assistants, and Gusto.com/businessbrain, where you get 3 months of payroll, benefits, admin, and more totally free. More details on those in a bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in Lafayette, California, I'm Shannon Jean. It's, January 26th. You know what that means, Dave?
I don't.
There's only a few more days left to hunt ducks and geese in California. And so, we're wrapping things up out here. Gonna have to tuck away the camouflage, even though I'm wearing it today.
Sure.
And get everything ready. But I just thought you'd like to be aware of that. It's very important. That important fact.
Well, you don't want to run afoul of the law. You don't want to be a criminal.
Smart.
And well, yes, but I meant that as a triple entendre because I am not a criminal, Shannon. It turns out I am not a criminal. Yeah. Well,
Did you file for that federal crime thing, whatever?
I did it this morning. So,
oh man, I gotta do it.
We talked about this on the first episode of the year, where the Financial Crimes Enforcement Center or whatever is requiring that every business that exists in the United States identifies its beneficial owners in a database. And the reason they're doing this is to be able to track the actual ownership of companies so that, basically for financial crimes like terrorism and and money laundering and all that stuff. Yes. Yeah. And of course, when you file a tax return, you put the beneficial owners in, like the partners of the business are in there. But you can put another business as one of the partners, and then that business can have several beneficial owners, which could be other businesses. And so it could be a very lengthy investigative process to figure out who the actual owner is. With this, everything gets tied together. So if you put a business in, that's fine. That business is also in the database, and its beneficial owners are there. And the same for those beneficial owners. If it's companies, if it's an individual, that's what they actually want to know, is who are the individuals behind this. So I don't have corporate structures that are overly complex. It took me all of about 8 minutes to do one of my companies. Now, it's a company where my wife is an owner of the company, just so we can file as a partnership. But I am 99% owner of this, and she is not. She does not qualify as a beneficial owner. Beneficial owners, by their definition, are people who have control over the entity.
All right.
And anyone with 25% or more ownership in the entity. So either of those things makes you a beneficial owner. Fine.
I saw the government propaganda. I mean, the news that a million or some odd businesses had already signed up for this last week and everything.
Yeah. And it was easy. I chose because I have so many different, I have like 4 or 5 different LLCs or whatever.
Yep.
I chose to create what's called a FinCEN ID.
Oh.
And really, and I would request that you do the same thing. And the reason is, if you do that, what I did was I went in and essentially created an account for myself, and I'll put a link in the show notes for everybody to do it. And you just log in and give them your name, and I used my driver's license to sort of authenticate myself. And that was it. Like that's the end of that process. But where it gets really easy is when I went then to do the first company that I was going to do with this, I went in and it said, list all the details about this beneficial owner, or give me their FinCEN ID.
It's like a single sign-on ID type thing.
And it's just an ID number. It's not your social security number. It's not a tax ID number. It means nothing other than identifying you for this.
It's one more number I have to remember.
It is, well, or you put it in a database somewhere. But like I did. But I just put in the number, and then all the fields went away. It was like, great. And they were like, are there any others? And I'm like, not for this business. And it was like, click. Okay, you're done. That's it. So that's why I asked that you do it, because you're going to need to do it for your own stuff, and then I'm going to be on the hook for doing it for our entity. So
you're the guy that does that stuff for us.
And you don't want to have to send me a copy of your driver's license or your passport, which you would if I were doing this on your behalf. Right.
But knowing me, I will probably wait to the last possible day because I'm not a huge fan of getting this government stuff done, but I will do it. I'm going to put a note on
it's right there in the show notes, so you could just do that and then just give that to me, and then I'll get it done, and then we don't have to think about it anymore.
Okay.
So, I'll be the proactive one. I'll be the responsible one, Shannon.
Yeah, I always need responsible people around me, because
in fact, I would argue that in the time it takes me to tell everyone about our sponsors for today, you could do it. I would think you could even do it right now. All right, folks. You know what's less fun than a surprise tax audit? Well, probably nothing. But close second, managing payroll and HR. Cue the groans, right? But wait, what if I told you that there's a superhero in the world of payroll and HR? Enter our sponsor, Gusto. Picture this: payroll that's actually painless, benefits that don't break the bank, and HR that doesn't make you hit the snooze button. Imagine, my fellow business brains, a world where payroll runs smoother than your morning coffee, where W-2s and 1099s are less intimidating than your morning crossword, and health benefits don't sound like rocket science. That's right, Gusto is like that friend who knows all about taxes and doesn't make you feel bad about not knowing what a W-4 form is. It's an all-in-one, remote-friendly platform where you can hire, onboard, pay, and support your team across the globe. And guess what? It's easy peasy to use, even from your beach hammock or your mountain cabin. 3 out of 4 customers say they run payroll in 10 minutes or less with Gusto. The 4th customer, well, they were probably just too busy enjoying how much time they saved to respond. And here's the kicker. For listeners of Business Brain, Gusto is offering 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's more savings than finding a forgotten 20 in your winter coat. And I'm wearing my winter coat a lot, so I think there's going to be a lot of 20s in there. So wave goodbye to payroll and HR headaches and say hello to Gusto. Visit gusto.com/businessbrain and give your business the gift of time, savings, and peace of mind. That's gusto.com/businessbrain. Now, let's get back to tuning those business brains of ours, and our thanks to Gusto for sponsoring this episode. All right, now, though, let's talk about the entrepreneur's universal challenge, time management. You know, like when managing your inbox feels like playing whack-a-mole with a rubber hammer, or when balancing your professional and personal life feels like juggling flaming torches underwater. Anyway, here's the good news. I've found our time-traveling superhero, minus the cape, squared away. Picture this: highly educated, driven, and dedicated military spouses turning into your remote executive assistants. It's like finding a unicorn that can do your taxes. I absolutely adore this concept, folks. Military spouses are like Swiss Army knives, versatile, resilient, and always handy in a pinch. Squared away assistants are the ninjas you need. They sneak in, tackle your admin work, manage projects, and handle those pesky little tasks that nibble away at your time. They're like professional plate spinners, keeping everything aloft while you focus on, well, being the business wizard that you need to be. And the best part, They're in every U.S. time zone and work as W-2 employees, not contractors. It's like having a personal productivity army, but without the need to feed and house them. So if you're ready to stop feeling like a circus ringmaster and more like a CEO, you've got to check out Squared Away. See how they can help you. Just go to GoSquaredAway.com. Again, that's GoSquaredAway.com. Say goodbye to task terrors and hello to your new secret weapon, and our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right. Time's up, Shannon. You got to...
I didn't get it done, Dave. In time.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm right here. Your FinCEN identifier. Okay, well,
there it is.
I'll do it when we're done.
Great. Perfect. Yeah. Amazing. That's great.
I do have a problem trying to do two things at once, even while I'm doing this show. It's not...
we're terrible at...
awful.
We are not multitaskers.
No,
it's
a myth. It's a myth.
It is a myth. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But what's not a myth is email. Email still rules the business world. You know, newsletters, email communication with your customers, with your employees. And so...
Well, hopefully you're not doing too much email with your employees. Like, hopefully you're using Slack or something.
I hope so.
Managing teams these days.
Yeah.
And I say these days, we did away with email for our teams probably 10, 15 years ago.
But I would say
but for external stuff.
But we're going to talk about here now about impactful email, or maybe I should change this to impactful messaging, is applicable to
all of it.
Slack, whether you're using Teams, whatever you're using, email. And I'm going to mention the X platform again, and I probably apologize, but I do spend a lot of time up there because I think it's a wealth of information and a masterclass at just about any topic you want. I learned from you, Dave, how to curate my stream of data to be super useful, and there's no garbage in there, which I love it. And I stayed away from Twitter, X for years because of that, and now it's like perfect. It's like a perfect fire hose of information for me.
That's great.
This guy up there, Moses Kagan, who's got a gazillion followers, he posted something that got me thinking about messaging and email. And what he said was, business emails should contain no more than 2 sentences per paragraph.
Yep.
Let's start with that, because people don't read. You know, if you're digging down and you've got one thing after another, people are like, what are we getting here? And you won't get the response you're going to get.
Unless you know that your recipient is a prolific communicator, right?
Yes.
Like if they're going to read every word you write them, even if it's a 5-page opus, great. But unless you know that and you are certain that you're willing to go on that, then you got to follow this rule. For sure.
And the second part, which I think is really great, which I don't do. I do the first part because I've learned I actually try to keep it to one topic per message.
Oh, for sure.
It's tough. You can't, if you start to go down, it just falls apart. But the second recommendation, if the sender, you, expects an action from the recipient, the ask should be bold and underlined. I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I guess, again, it's reading the room, figuring out who it's going to, right?
He makes a good point. I have a problem, and I've softened on this in recent years because I understand where the world is and I'm a realist. But I have a fundamental issue with emails not being sent as plain text. And the reason is,
I see.
If you, unless you're really good at, and you know what your formatting is going to look like on the recipient's end, I prefer to send email that is going to look like my recipient intends for it to look, right?
But aren't most people using modern email clients that formatting is standardized or not?
No, that's the
question.
thing. If I choose a different font for my email and different sizing, which as soon as you start adding formatting, all of your stuff goes along with it. It's not like, here, send this to Shannon and underline this, but keep the rest of it looking like he wants email to look at the right size and all this. As soon as you start formatting it, you sort of
maybe
take
it's,
over.
Maybe it's asterisk at the beginning, asterisk at the end.
I'll
Something
do
like that.
asterisk. I will. Yeah, I'll do things like that. And again, you can use a lot of people use underline and bold communicating with me, and it is effective. So you just need. But I guess my advice here is test. Send this email to some trusted friends. Send it to yourself so you can read it on your phone. Like, you don't know where someone's going to be when they're reading a message.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
You've got to make sure you're communicating effectively, because we've all gotten those emails where the font size is either 10 sizes too big or 10 sizes too small. And you're like, this looks like a cartoon. This is stupid. And it converts, it communicates, perhaps unintentionally, a lack of attention to the recipient, right? And that, I don't know. If I get an email where the font and the formatting is all screwed up, it's like, oh, I don't have time for this right now. And then I'm frustrated about it, even if it's something I know I need or want to pay attention to. So
that's good.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
His last tip is if the email must contain more than 4 paragraphs, it should begin with a summary and the ask. So what's the action I'm requesting? With the additional info posted below that.
I'm into that.
So kind of a too long didn't read, right? So, here's a quick summary. Here's the ask, and then this. And I think that's a great idea if you're doing newsletters as well, is to have I used to call it the monologue. You had a brief monologue of, okay, we're going to talk about this stuff today. Here's the key points. That way, if somebody wants to, because you're trying to respect time, right? It's the most important commodity we have. So if somebody looks through there and says, this week I'm not really interested, I'm going to be gone. But I love that TLDR. Yeah. Well, here's the gist of it.
There's a thing that existed, it has existed for years, called 5 sentences. And it is, essentially this same thing. The policy that all email responses, regardless of recipient or subject, will be 5 sentences or less. And then there's also the 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and 4 sentences rules too. But the idea is exactly this. And the gist is treat all email responses like text messages, right?
I love it.
Which, of course, back in the SMS days, actually had a limited number of, that's where Twitter's initial 120 characters came from, was that. Then they doubled it. But it was because it was built to be texted around. And so it had to fit in that. But that there is efficiency in limitations like that. So,
and all good writing is, strip it down, strip it down. And
you got to strip it down.
It's hard to do, but less is more. And I have found, I'm working on this new book, Escaping Employment, and I found that writing on Twitter has actually helped me in that regard.
Sure.
Because it's just, you can't have that superfluous stuff in there. Nope. And even if it goes against a grammar rule, sometimes it's very effective just to be like, boom, here it is.
Yeah, here's the thought. And
this is it.
People, you get away with it on Twitter because people understand that you need to be efficient on that platform.
So, but it's definitely helped my writing. I think the biggest thing is just to do it often, and especially with like emails or messaging. If you're not doing it often, these are great rules to follow. I love this 5.sentence.es. I think that's fantastic.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna share that. With my people. But anyway, we'd love to hear your tips. It's Casual Friday. We wanted to talk about email messaging. Share your thoughts with us so we can share them with everybody else. Come find us everywhere. Go to the show notes at businessbrain.show. You'll see all our links and all that good stuff. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Check out our sponsors, gusto.com/businessbrain and Go Squared Away. Of course, go sign up for our mailing list so you get all the show notes and everything in your inbox at businessbrain.show. Keep living that charmed life, and we'll see you next week. And we're out.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for hanging with us, folks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream as we wrap up everything, and we'll be back with you next week. You can watch these shows, you can listen to these shows in all the normal podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, everybody. coming out tomorrow on the 24th. And then the second episode you just heard will be out on the 26th. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.